having those images on the wall not only lets them remember that moment, that memory, but it also creates a chemical reaction in their brain. It triggers dopamine. My name is Meredith Ryncarz. I am a wedding and a boudoir photographer. I am based out of the Savannah, Georgia area, and we serve clients coast to coast. For me, legacy means heirlooms. It means stories that are told around holidays that connect our past to our present and then onward to our future. Photography connects legacy to families because I'll share a story of just my own personal connection. So my mother was born in Brazil. I've never been. It's definitely a different experience. And my grandparents for much of my childhood were not around because they were still in Brazil. And a lot of the pictures that they sent back, the old slides that they had were sent back, and we would sit around and talk about those images, and recently found a whole box of them. And it was fun to get on a Zoom call with family from all over the United States and be able to share those stories and talk about, the life that they had that was so different from what we know.
In your business, how do you try to create legacies for your clients?
Kind of in the same way of making them aware that, technology changes, digital changes. It's changed in just the past couple of years for us as photographers. And having those images on the wall not only lets them remember that moment, that memory, but it also creates a chemical reaction in their brain. It triggers dopamine, and then it solidifies those memories as you start to talk about them with friends or family that visit, and they go, well, where was this taken? Or tell me about this. So printed photos just create such a richness to our lives that I don't think a lot of people realize. Our clients' favorite products. Ooh, those are definitely a combination of either albums or wall art, and really the fine art torn edge paper prints are really one of their favorites. If I was a beginning photographer starting all over again and I needed to add print products, I would honestly start with albums first and then move on to wall art. I think that albums are something that no matter what size of house, what time of season you're in as a client, albums make sense. You can be in an apartment, you can be in a large house. And so as a beginning photographer, that's really easy to offer to clients no matter where they are in their life cycle.
And since we're talking about albums, so why don't you talk about your process with albums, like showing them the albums, like before you even take the photos, kind of that process to get them excited, and then your process for designing the album in Fundy Designer and showing it, and kind of how you go through that process with your clients, helping that beginner kind of get that process down, because it's all about the process, right?
So our process for showcasing these albums, going through offering them to clients, is pretty streamlined. They don't show up after a wedding or after a session and see the albums for the first time or hear about the fact that we even offer albums. They're hearing about it from the very beginning, from the initial consultation call with them. If they're a destination client, we're actually holding that up in the Zoom call, showing it to them, talking about why this is important, not only from a quality perspective, but also from that standpoint of a memory and that impact that it will have on their lives. And then if it is someone coming into our studio space, that's the first thing they see when they walk in the door are those products. They see them on the tables, they're able to pick them up, touch them, feel them. And then as we go through getting closer to that process, we even talk about what does their house look like? How is it designed? So that we're kind of helping as an expert to showcase this is how it could fit into the design of your home, whether it is an album or wall art. And then with the design process, I pre-design my albums in Fundy. I find that because our clients are selecting pretty large albums with a lot of spreads in them, they also don't have a lot of time. So we're doing that ahead, showcasing that to them, and then they're making decisions only about what does the outside look like? Is the size correct? How many spreads? They're not making decisions about the images initially because that story is being told beforehand. And then on the back end, once they've made those decisions, we'll go through rounds of revision, which really, I couldn't do what I do without that online proofing system for them or for me. I did it in the past. I don't recommend it. It is a nightmare. And so that has made it really streamlined and easy for them as busy professionals and as for me to serve them really well. So when I'm presenting that to the clients, it's one of two ways. We have a lot of destination clients, and so those are all done via Zoom. That's uploaded in a slideshow. They're seeing that for the first time that way. If they are in person, we're still uploading it as a slideshow for them to flip through and see, but it's on our TV in our studio space. At the same time that they're seeing that being played in studio, they're actually physically holding an album so they can touch it and feel it, and it's multi-sensory for them, which really helps them make a decision about what it is that they want. We're actually not making any changes to the images in the album during that IPS, during that sales session, because we're focused on the design aspect of the exterior of the album, and they're also making choices about wall art and other items. And a lot of our clients, our ideal clients, tend to have trouble making decisions, and they want to see all the images and they want to think about it and they want to, have time to really revise it multiple times. So we're doing all the image changes as a back and forth revision through that online proofer.
So keep in touch. We have some big updates coming around slideshows in the fall, and then in-person sales in the winter. Things like online signing agreements, like be able to hey, they chose a black leather, they chose this and that. Shoot them a link and they can sign off on that live.
That would make my life
It'll store a
much
PDF.
Easier.
Yep. So some cool stuff coming. So just kind of keep that in mind. So let's talk about Rise and your role in Rise and why you think it's important as an event for photographers that might not be offering printed products right now.
For photographers that are beginning in offering product and starting to offer albums, one of the things that's going to be really instrumental for them is attending Rise. And Rise is a 3-day workshop. It is in Kansas City. And I feel like it's incredibly important because as someone who made all the mistakes and kind of tested out how to do in-person sales on my own, playing with pricing and structures, and it took me so much longer to get to a point of profitability and consistent sales and knowing what I was doing. And being an introvert, it made me really nervous, not having the ability to have that kind of scaffolding and that support. And that's what Rise is. It's going to allow a lot of photographers who maybe are just starting in in-person sales, just starting to offer albums and wall art, to really come out of there confident. The focus is not that you're being talked to the whole time, but that you're actually putting in the work. So we're going to have sections of time where you're going to learn, and then sections of time where you're going to actually practice and put into action those in-person sales skills. The pricing is going to be worked through while you're there. So you go home ready to make money. Well, one of the reasons that I avoided album design for a long time was, one, I didn't know there was software out there that could help me. But two, like some other photographers out there, I thought you had to do it in Photoshop. I thought you had to have a template. And the idea of that was just very off-putting. And so when I started designing in Fundy, it's very easy to learn. It's quick to figure out the system. And what we do is for our weddings or our portrait sessions, we upload all of the images and then we have it auto design it to start with. And that gets it pretty close. It saves me a ton of time, especially for weddings and how big our albums are. And then I'm going back through, or one of my other photographers in studio is going back through, and we're adjusting it, just making some quick tweaks of things that I know happened on the day that were more important than maybe something else, highlighting a larger picture, exporting it, and then putting it into that slideshow, putting it into that IPS so that it's fast and it's efficient.